And I'm a joker, I'm a smoker, I'm a midnight toker.
Greetings from Castle Goring, from Mickey Aurora, and from me. Valerie Martin says, I think that the cold-blooded murder of Charlie Kirk has soured millions of Democrats in the USA. Megzilla should not align herself with liberals, especially as they are celebrating Charlie's murder. Millions of people around the world are marching in support of Charlie's mission, conservative Judeo-Christian values. Harry is the court jester, too stupid to even discuss in politics. The Markles need to stay put, stuff themselves and those kids with jam. Leave the monarchy alone, if you please. Well, they're not leaving the monarchy alone because they have no means of making money, save by the royal connection. If they can get the dynamic going, which they have been successfully achieving, where the media, the mainstream media, have a big power struggle going between Charles and William and Harry involved in it, that ratifies their importance. Is Meghan going to change her political beliefs? Meghan's political beliefs, in my view, are the empty posturings of an arch hypocrite. I'm choosing my words very carefully. Meghan has pretty much made every position she espoused. Family life, blood everywhere, all over the floor. Her fathers, her sisters, her brothers, her mother's family, her father's brother, Uncle Mike, dead and gone now, never even heard boo out of Meghan, although Meghan owed him big time. The royal family. Oh, what's the name of that girl? Jessica Mulroney. Poor Jessica Mulroney. Sasha Exeter unfairly traduces her, and Meghan dumps the victim, not the perpetrator. My goodness, doesn't she have a proper understanding of how the world works? At a level of sociopathy? Because it certainly isn't at the level of Judeo-Christian values, loyalty, consideration, forgiveness, constancy. No, none of that. Meghan knows only too well that she can't change political direction. Her hand is tied. The die has been cast. She has to keep in the political direction that she has been going for some time. And she's got Harry very enthusiastically along. And I'll tell you better. Harry is not the only woke member of the royal family. Many members of the royal family, it has always been said, if they could vote, they would vote Liberal Democrat. well, of course, Meghan and Harry would vote left of the Labour Party. Because, like all superb hypocrites, they espouse one thing and do another. Remember, you must not travel because you're going to ruin the planet. Oh, but I can travel on private jets wherever I want to go. Lynette Brown says, how the story would have changed if the has-beens had been successful in Hollywood and or as influencers. Their poison is showing on their faces now. You're absolutely right. You only need to look at Meghan and Harry to see not only the desperation, especially with her, but the dissatisfaction with him, the anguished looks, the I don't want to be here looks, the really pained expression that he often wears. Would things have been different had they been successful in Hollywood and or as influencers? Yes. That's why they moved to Hollywood. Queen Elizabeth II scuppered it for them, now refusing to have them being half in, half out. They're now trying to get in with the connivance of the mainstream media, who know that it will create absolute havoc in the royal world if Harry and Meghan are able to appear to be half in, half out. And that Harry's recent trip has been a concerted attempt to not only appear to be half in, half out, but to be regarded as being half in, half out by the world generally. And of course, Harry and Meghan's political sympathies do coincide very strongly with this government's. Also, where Ukraine is concerned, their sympathies coincide not only with the government, but with the royal family generally, because they are all pro-Ukraine. The British government of successive political persuasions has pursued an anti-Russian policy that has been draconian in its implementation. We are not at war with Russia. Yet, several private Russian citizens have had their properties seized by our state being the United Kingdom, the British state. I think that's unethical. I think it attacks to the heart of, well, what the Scots would call perfidious Albion, because the fact of the matter is that any government that seizes the property of private citizens whose country is not at war with them, they are breaching all sorts of international and moral and ethical protocols. I make the point that it's not this government alone, it's the previous Conservative government as well. This does not inspire confidence in foreigners in investing in this country. Because we as a nation invited the Russians in over a period of nearly 3 decades. Actually, it's over 3 decades now. Yes, over 3 decades. We invited the Russians in to invest in this country, and that their money would be safe in this country. And then when we didn't like something that their government did, notwithstanding the fact that we are not at war with their government, and that even if they have links to the government, they are not official parts of the government, and therefore under international law they are not a part of the government, and therefore should not be penalised as to what the government has done. We have seized their assets. This is morally and indefensible and actually politically dumb for the long term. But I bring this up to show you that it's not only Harry and this government that have certain persuasions that coincide at this point with Harry and Meghan's PR interests in bigging themselves up and trying to present the facade that they are genuine, well, he's genuinely half in, half out. And therefore, that will raise their profile and hopefully make them more money in the United States. Well, as has been observed, Charlie Kirk's murder has actually kiboshed a lot of that, because Harry is playing to the gallery, and I'm afraid the gallery has been emptied out because there's nobody looking at the play. Claire Hendry says, Lady C, the monarchy is losing support thanks to this woke king. He is weak and has enabled Harry over the last 4 years at the expense of William. At the Patriots' March yesterday, which the left-wing media and awful Prime Minister referred to as far-right, there was a contingent from New Zealand who spoke for the Commonwealth. The leader spoke on behalf of the Kiwis and members from that part of the world, and he castigated the king for not dealing with his errant son and brother and for supporting Islam over Christianity. They are not happy with the reign of Charles. As for the awful Starmer, remember that he at one time wanted to see the end of the monarchy. I suspect nothing has changed. Well, you know, they say leopards don't change their spots. And Starmer, according to him, is somebody who operates under the basis of principle. Well, if he was anti-monarchist before he came to power, is he anti-monarchist still? His conduct implies that he is, but that in the meantime, he is functioning within the system. Starmer is very good at functioning within the system. When he was a member of the putative Corbyn cabinet, he was 110%, or was it 150%, behind Corbyn, and he agreed with all of Corbyn's policies. Then when he supplanted Corbyn, miraculous change of heart. And the policies he has been implementing show that he is a dyed-in-the-wool socialist with Marxist-Leninist tendencies. Is there room for a monarch when there are Marxist-Leninists around? Well, there was a very popular monarchy in Romania even after Hitler managed to depose, well, he didn't actually depose, he ran him out of the country, King Carol II, and his son Michael took over and was endowed with the role of king, although his father had not abdicated, and therefore technically he was not actually the king. Michael was ultimately encouraged to abdicate for, I think it was the sum of $250,000 per annum, which he was faithfully paid for the whole time that the communists were in power, by the way. And he would have stayed if he did not feel that his life was in danger. But when he felt his life was in danger and they allowed him to take out train loads of goods as well as keep him on a monarchic stipend for the next quarter of a century, he left. But I think the message is monarchies are not compatible with Marxist-Leninist governments. They are mutually exclusive. Let's put it that way. I know there's an awful lot of disapproval of the king's inclusiveness. I actually get what he's about. I also get that he is so eager to play to certain aspects of the gallery that he misses the point that he's playing to cabals within the gallery. He should actually be playing to the whole gallery. I'm not saying he shouldn't play to the cabals, but he doesn't play to the rest of the gallery with the eagerness that he should be playing to the gallery. That's my personal opinion. I think it's not what he does that causes criticism. It's what he doesn't do after he has done something. For instance, celebrating Eid. Well, if he wants to do that, fine. But then he's got to celebrate all the other religious festivals as well. And when he doesn't, that's a mistake. So, but he can't do everything. So maybe sometimes if you can't do everything, in certain fields, it's better to do nothing. This is where the Queen was wise. So, he is definitely a more controversial monarch than his mother was. But then he is more proactive, and he also, though, feels he has a limited time in which to make his mark. And that can actually be an error. It puts a lot of pressure on you to do certain things. And sometimes it's better to do nothing. Or if you're going to do one thing, you do everything. So I don't know what you think, but I do know that all reigns go through highs and lows. The Queen's did. Queen Victoria, for a while, was extremely unpopular. There was even talk that the monarchy might be abolished. Then we have a very popular king in Edward VIII. He didn't reign for long, but for the whole of his reign he was extremely popular. And he had been an extremely popular Prince of Wales. He was the most popular Prince of Wales of all time. Where did that get him? I make that point for what it's worth. Popularity isn't necessarily the only virtue to aim for in a monarchy. Staying power is more important, because popularity comes and goes. Having said that, it does behoove the monarch to keep his ear to the ground and listen to what people are saying. And an awful lot of what people are saying is, we don't want all of this woke stuff. We don't want you hiving off with one minority enthusiasm after another. We want you to be representative of everybody and try actually playing to the majority as well as the minorities. And to that extent, I think people do have a point. But you know, every monarch has to make mistakes. And whatever Charles's mistakes are, I do think many people sense that his heart is in the right place. And by and large, he's actually not done so badly so far, considering he's been very ill, considering he's had the problems of Catherine being ill as well, and considering he's had the huge problems of Harry and Meghan. Captain Nathan says, Lady C, you are as usual, thank you, 100% correct in pointing out that Harry's visit to Ukraine was very bad and, in my opinion, very dangerous, especially where Ukraine is concerned, because Zelensky is a hothead and not ready for prime time when it comes to international relations and negotiating. President Trump has been as patient as he can be with him, and he remains in full support of Ukraine. But Putin is an old pro who knows Zelensky is soft in that area and is playing games with him. I hope the king doesn't publicly make comments about that situation. We here in the USA are looking forward to our president's visit to the UK, though we are so sad at the tragic and blatantly political murder of poor Charlie Kirk. Thank you for your insights. Well, it certainly would be a grave error for our royal family to get itself too mixed up in the Ukraine question, because the Ukraine question is extremely complicated and it is not as straightforward as simplistic people would like to think, because was Khrushchev right and was Kennedy wrong? If Khrushchev was wrong and Kennedy was right, we are wrong because we cannot expect to push and disrespect and point missiles in the direction of somebody who says they want to have a harmonious relationship with us, and they wanted to have a harmonious relationship with their neighbor Ukraine, which they did until the United States of America sent in Victoria Nuland to undermine the democratically elected government of Ukraine and fabricate a revolution so that they would be able to put in their stooges and their puppets so that a neutral pro-Russian Ukraine that got along with both the East and the West would then become the site for nuclear weapons pointed at Russia. It's which bit of we wouldn't want it do people not understand? Kennedy nearly took the world into a world war over the Cuban Missile Crisis. Was he wrong or was he right? If he was right, we are wrong. It's as simple as that. And who doesn't like it can lump it as far as I'm concerned, because we can't have it both ways. When it suits us, it's wrong, and when it doesn't suit us, it's right. That's not how ethics and morality work. If something is wrong, it's wrong. If it's right, it's right. Every country has a right to feel secure within its own borders, and we do not have the right to hem in a country that that wanted to be friends with us, offered to be friends with us, that the British Prime Minister at the time, John Major, said, oh, yes, please. President Chirac, yes, please. Chancellor Cole, yes, please. President Clinton, no. Why? Because President Clinton understood that a united Europe in economic terms and in political terms, not that they would all be one state, but that they would be a continent which had cooperation across the board, was going to become a far more powerful entity than the United States of America. And that's why Clinton did what he did. And that's what has gone on from then till now. And I don't see any merit in us losing our lives and our children's lives because we want something unreasonable, which it is. If we are entitled to security, so is Russia. It's as simple as that. Zelensky has an appalling reputation internationally. Zelensky has made billions, all legally, all when he was a comedian in clubs in Kiev. That's why he and his wife are able to spend the amount of money that they do spend. That's why they have the fabulous houses that they have all over the place. Not because they are corrupt, not because Burisma is corrupt, not because there was tremendous corruption and persists in being tremendous corruption, not because he is violating the rights of ordinary Ukrainians by kidnapping them and throwing them into the armed forces, not because he has suspended all of the checks and balances which would have meant he's out of power. No. He's a wonderful man. He's a marvelous man. He certainly was a very good comedian, and comedians are very adept at thinking on their feet. I will give Zelensky full marks. When he was elected on a platform of trying to get Ukraine back to a more neutral position where they would cooperate with Russia and with the West, which is what Russia wanted. It's we in the West who didn't want it. Why did we in the West not want it? Because the American hawks didn't want it. They wanted war. They knew if they pushed enough, they would get war. And sure enough, they got it. Hopefully, we will get peace. Although it has to be said, Harry's visit to Ukraine with the Starmer government, because remember, Yvette Cooper went as well. She had him catch a lift on her vehicle, so to speak. This does not bode well for peace in Ukraine, because the European states, Macron, the Germans, they have all been behind the scenes trying to scupper the possibility of peace so that the war will continue. I don't know which bit of this is outrageous conduct people don't understand. And this has taken place the week before President Trump's visit to the United Kingdom. There is a tremendous amount of political jockeying behind the scenes to deprive President Trump of any chance of successfully concluding the war in Ukraine. All of his political adversaries, and his political adversaries include Sir Keir Starmer, David Lammy, President Macron, the Germans, etc., etc. They do not want him to succeed. They want him to fail. And if and when they think the time comes for them to negotiate a peace, they think that's when it should be done. But many of them don't think there should be a peace. They think that the longer this drags on, is the more likely the Putin government is to fall and the Russian state will collapse. And at that point, we will move into Russia and take over Russia. I mean, how likely do you think that is to happen? But that's the objective. I think we need to wake up and see what's really going on. And Harry's visit has been, in some ways, mischievous, but in other ways, to be expected. Harry is a useful idiot. Meghan is a dangerous manipulator, but Harry is a useful idiot. If Harry and Meghan succeed in their objectives, they will have destabilized the monarchy. And Meghan's objective is to destabilize any reign that Charles or William will have. You notice that she has chosen two of the leading figures in each reign to accuse of racism, Charles and the next Queen of the United Kingdom. Do you think this is all accidental? Because I don't. And do you think this is just all about, well, this is what I want? Or do you think there is a serious level of malice behind all of this? Because I think it is truly malicious. And Meghan is truly a malicious individual, going off her conduct and what her past conduct leads one to conclude her present objectives are. And let's not forget, Meghan has ambitions, or had ambitions, to become President of the United States. So we are dealing with somebody who is monumentally egotistical and most likely delusionally arrogant and out of touch with the reality of what she can achieve. But in the process, she will put a wrecking ball to much that if she were neutralized, or if she had not existed at all, would run far more smoothly. But I don't think that in terms of Ukraine, her presence or her attitudes are going to make a scrap of difference. Because a strong, woke cabal. They call themselves liberal. They are not liberal. They are illiberal, neo-Puritans, passing themselves off as liberals. I think we need to wake up and see what's going on. And on that note, I'll say thank you very much for listening. I hope this has been of some interest to you. If it has, please keep the questions and comments coming in so I will know what you would like us to be discussing. Okay? And if you have truly enjoyed this, would you care to like, share, subscribe, press the notification bell, and Godspeed. Bye-bye.